Greetings, everybody. This is Macintosh from the 12 tribes of Israel, specifically the tribe of Lawaya, aka Levi, and Yahawada, aka Duda. Hope you guys are having an awesome day. We're continuing on on part 2, proof why Easter is evil and Christmas, which is Christ's massacre when they had killed many people who believed in Christ. And we're correcting everything because Passover's in one more day. It's almost Passover time. It's let me see, I believe, yes, it's 7:17 right now, at 7:17 p.m. and we're still on March, we're still in March, we're still in April 13th, and well, I'm getting ready to celebrate Passover, so I wanted to make sure I get this video in before that happens. So I know most of you guys already seen this map already because I've been teaching you guys the time and everything. I just made a Passover video to explain what to do on Passover Day and how to celebrate it based on biblical proof. So go ahead and check that out if you have some time. And we're going to continue on with our ASHTAR, ASHTAR, Isis, Osiris, Baal dilemma. So we'll go ahead and continue. Alright. So I wanted to start off with this right here. You see this website right here? You can use it to keep track of the moon cycles. As you can tell, I told you guys today is April 13th. And so we're going to have a Sabbath day in 2 more days. My Sabbath day will be on Tuesday because that's when we'll have a full moon. So that would be the 15th. So let's look for April 15th here. Alright, April 15th right here, full moon. You see? Let me go ahead and maximize it for you if you don't believe me. April 15th right here. And that would represent the day after this full moon night would represent Sabbath day, because day means light, night means night when there's no light. So then the next Sabbath day will be at the half moon, which is April 22nd, and then we'll have a new moon again, and this will represent the month of hold on, let me see, the month of ER. That's the second month in the year. So in 2 more days we have Sabbath day. On the same day we're gonna have unleavened bread after Passover, which this is a major month right here. Really major month, really busy. A lot of things are happening during this time because a lot of things happen during this time. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and continue with our lesson. So that's the website up here if you want to write it down. Pause this real quick. And here's another website, same thing. The 15th is full moon. And if you look at it from Tuesday, Tuesday right here would be a new moon. This was when there was a new month. Oh, pardon me, new month was on Monday. The first day begins on Tuesday. You count 7 days from there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And you count 7 again. This is the half moon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is in 2 days, which is the 15th. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Another half moon. And there's going to be a new moon next. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 6 days thou shalt work. On the 7th day thou shalt rest. The first, the 8th, the Monday, which is March, the 8th of April, the 15th of April, the 22nd and 29th, and they have it here too. You see, you don't count the new moon day, and you don't count the next day. You count the day after it. So right here, instead of going Tuesday, Wednesday, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you're starting from Wednesday. So there's a new moon right here on Monday. Supposedly you would believe that the first day is on Tuesday, but the first day begins on Wednesday night. On Tuesday night, which would be necessarily Wednesday, you know. So, because remember, the next day, tomorrow begins at night, because there was night before day. There was darkness before there was light. There was void before the Creator said, "Let there be light." Amen. So we're gonna go ahead and continue. That's another good site to save right here. And it gives you a little bit of detail about everything and some other commentaries. And all right. And as I've been already teaching you guys already about, this is the Bohemian Grove right here. This is where the government, the presidents, all that, they commit adultery and fornication and sexual immoralities. They have sex with each other, men with men. There's no women in there. They burn babies in this owl right here, which they call Molech or Moloch, which is their owl. Molech was a false god of ancient Canaan. So this is ancient. Molech worshippers at a pagan shrine. This is Bohemian Grove. Look it up. So Allah's warning against worshipping Molech, the Canaanite fire god, is given in a religious context. Believing Hebrew Israelites and non-Hebrew Israelites living in the land of Yis-RoyAl were prohibited from pagan sexual worship of the Canaanite fertility goddess ASHTAR, Easter, Esther, that witch, which is similar to Mary. So she's the one who's making all these governments turn gay, which made Obama promote and pass gay marriage, which is bad. It's a sin. So this all comes from the pagan witch called ASHTAR, Esther, Isis. Same thing. Aphrodite, Diana, whatever you want to call it. And it's the goddess of fertility again, which goes back to the cross, and it goes back to the Ankh, and it goes back to Baal and Isis and Osiris. Same old junk. Matter of fact, it was the Egyptian pagans, Masonic people, not Messianic, but Masonic people that created the pyramids and put those graven images in it so they can try to restore their filth at some point, and they kept those structures there so they can control the energetic grid and ley lines. You see, that's why those pyramids are there. They used to actually sacrifice people on these things and babies, and they still do it today. The child service companies, they take babies from their family and they go sacrifice them to pagan idol gods. Because Allah viewed such pagan worship as Obama nation, Allah intended to prevent his people from practicing the shrine prostitution of the Canaanites, of the Moabites, of the Moors, or the Islamic people, or the Egyptian people, which he warned against in Leviticus 18 section 3 and 20 section 23. Akhenaten was a faggot, and he actually looked exactly like Obama. This is what this picture is right here. Hold on. This is the picture of Akhenaten, but they kind of put his face on it to show you that it looks just like him. And his wife looked just like his wife too, Akhenaten. I don't know if they cloned the dude or what, but Obama's not normal. And by the way, this is the half crescent moon again, with the asterisk in the center, which they call the northern star. That also is the Islamic picture, which goes back to Canaan and Ashtaroth, and there we go, and whatchamacallit, and Easter, which is the worship of Satan. This is the box that they walk around. The Islamic people, they bow down to this big black box. When the time comes, Satan, the deceiver, is going to descend down to this box right here from the heavens, from space, and they're going to convince everyone that it was God, but it wasn't God. It's the false prophet that's going to come down. And when it come down, they're going to begin their war against the Hebrew Israelites and the Christians who remember who Christ Yeshua is. So the Islamic people will be the ones who's committing the death. They're the chosen religion of the New World Order. So right here is more pictures of Easter, which is the devil. Easter, the celebration of Satan. It's not the celebration of Christ's death and resurrection, which is Passover. And this is the star again, the asterisk star, the half crescent moon, which represents the goddess again. Flip it upside down a little bit more. It looks like a horn. And it ends up looking just like this. Moloch again. So this is what you guys are worshiping when you worship the sun and worship Zeus on Sunday, the day of the sun, and you're calling on Jesus, which is Zeus. Jesus, and you're celebrating Easter and missing Passover. You're celebrating everything that has to do with the devil. And when you're celebrating Christ's massacre and Christmas, you're celebrating the devil too. Because remember, this is the phallus. The tree represents the phallus with the serpent and the snake that deceived all of us going up it with the star of ASHTAR on the top. And this is the womb of Easter, ASHTAR. You see, so this is Baal, the phallus, and the womb is ASHTAR. This is what you're worshiping on the day of the sun. And the sun represents Satan too. So you guys are worshiping the sun on Sunday. So the word translated Molech, well, the way you worship, some people worship the sun on Sunday is more stupid than those who actually worship the sun directly. Now, if you're worshiping the sun directly, you'll be a little less stupid than the Christians that go to church and worship the sun and say, I'm not worshiping the sun. You see what I'm saying? The Christians are more stupid because they worship the sun on the day of the sun and they call on Zeus. There weren't no J's in ancient Paleo Hebrew. And Jesus is an English word. It's not the name Yeshaya. You see what I'm saying? Yashur, Yeshaya. So the word translated Molech or Moloch, the spelling varies, occurs 8 times in the Bible. In Leviticus 18:21, section 20, verse 20, section 2, section 3, 4, 5. The first book of Kings 11, section 7, in section 2. It's the first book of Kings, verse 11, section 7. The second book of Kings 23, section 10. Jeremiah 32, section 35. So it talks about you not supposed to be doing this. And Christians want to say, where does the Bible say not to worship Easter and Sunday? Here it is. Here it is. Do you believe in God? Do you believe that Christ died for you? Are you willing to listen and know that Satan changed up the books and he changed up the word? Are you willing? Do you love your Creator enough to discern for yourself? To remain curious, to study, to seek for the truth, not just from your pastor. Your pastor might be lying to you. Some of the pastors are sleeping with your wives. Oops, I might have just tattletold. Some of the priests are sleeping with your young sons. And you're going to church every day sitting in front of this pope and this pastor who's fucking your wife or your husband. It's nuts. So Allah placed the holiness code prohibitions of Leviticus 18, 22 and 20, section 13 in the context of worshiping false gods. That's the way he put it. Don't worship false gods. They're statues, they're scarecrows. They look scary, of course. They're a scarecrow. It's supposed to scare the birds away. But a competent bird will know that, hey, it's just a scarecrow. Let's peck at its eyeball. Let's chew up his arm. It's made out of hay and straw. It's a scarecrow. Don't be afraid of it. It's an idol. Thou shalt not commit idolatry. So it says in Leviticus 18, section 3, in section 21, and verse 20, section 2 through 5, and 23. For many centuries before Yis-RoyAl entered the land of Palestine, ancient Canaanite fertility cults use same-sex rituals to worship their false gods. So they sit on their altars and they have sex intercourse with each other on their altars, on their symbols, on top of the 5-point stars and 6-point stars, and then they enter each other. Same-sex marriage and everything, like Obama says is okay. Obama's the devil. So Allah prohibited Yis-RoyAl from adopting the cultic sexual fertility goddess worship of Egypt, Kemet, and Canaan. Leviticus 18, section 3, and verse 20 and 23. The issue with Allah was not committed, faithful, non-cultic sexual relationships between 2 men or 2 women. Abomination, a nation of Obamas. The issue with Allah was shrine prostitution and pagan worship. Scripture deals with shrine prostitution under the rubric of worshiping the false gods of Canaan. All right, so we'll continue on. So who was Molech? This is who people are sacrificing their kids to on Easter. Esther's celebration of the egg and sex and the rabbit and all this stuff, which is the devil worship. Christ didn't have no eggs. When Christ died on Passover, it wasn't about eggs. And the Creator told you not to worship wooden stones and metal idols and paper gods and silver and gold gods. Yet you see the Christians, they have a bunch of wooden crosses in there, which represents the Ankh, and the Ankh represents the womb of Satan again, the Matrix. So the Vatican, the Catholics, and the Islamic people trick the Christians into worshiping Satan. And Christians aren't Hebrew Israelites. They weren't chosen. The Creator chosen the Hebrew Israelites. You see what I'm saying? And it says that in the book. I have chosen the Hebrew Israelites. The Christians are the pagans. No matter what you tell them, they'll keep serving Satan. They'll be like, oh no, it's Jesus and Jesus is Zeus. They won't listen. So they're in a curse. They're under a voodoo. They're worshiping Satan every day of the sun. So Molech was the national deity of the Ammonites. The same ones the Most High promised us that he'll give us their land. So we're coming for you. We're coming for our inheritance now. A fire god commonly worshipped throughout the ancient Near East and North Africa by Canaanites and Philistines, Arameans, and Semitic peoples and later Phoenicians. He was known by many names, all signifying the same false god. Names of Molech. Anyone who reads history knows that various writers in various countries spell names differently. These names all refer to the same false god. Melech, Molech, Milcom, Melcom, Molech, Molech, Malek, Malik, Melech, Malcolm, Melkot, Melkot, Milk, Milk, Milquot, Kronos, Cronus. This is all the name for the same Easter devil. In Islam, Molech is called Malek or Malik, meaning king, believed to be the principal angel in charge of Dajanam. I don't know what that means. The Islamic version of hell. So Dajanam, that's their version of hell. It's probably different. That Molech worship was already common among the Canaanites when Israel entered the land. It's evident from the fact that Allah warned Israel against Molech worship as an abomination. And this is why the Creator said, don't pass near the Philistines. You know, I'm going to bring you guys around and we're going to make a contract. Promise me you won't get involved with all this idol worship. There's war in the Philistines. Don't be involved. And when the Creator said there's war there, it's because the Creator was punishing the Philistines, the Palestinians, because they were worshiping idols, so God was punishing them. Abba Allah was punishing them. So he said, don't go near here, don't go near there. And these are the 10 commandments. Thou shalt not bow down to their gods. So now all tribes of Israel is bowing down to Christian pagan witches. So this is evidence from the fact that Allah was Yis-RoyAl against Molech worship as an abomination. The Yisraelites were forbidden to practice. Leviticus 18, section 21. Fire gods like Molech and his fertility goddess consort Ashtoreth. So Baal is also known as Molech. Same thing. Were not religious fantasies. They exercise a very real power over the primitive Canaanites. And these are the same gods that the Haitians in Haiti are doing voodoo through now. They're using these same ancient gods from Egypt and Philistines to practice voodoo. And that's why God's going to punish Haiti and punish Israel and punish America and punish Jamaica and everywhere, because we forgot the unseen true God. We're worshiping crosses and false gods and stuff and scarecrows. Like your cross is going to scare me from the unseen and true all omnipotent Creator. He's omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient, and he is omnipresent. He's everywhere. He's not in those crosses and books. The Bible, some people worship the Bible, but the Bible is the work of God. It's the word of God. It's not God. It's God's creation, and the creation can never be greater than the Creator that created it. It invested in you. If you take God out of the picture, it's like you kicked your investor out of the picture. Where are you going to get credit from? Where are you going to get life from if you kick your creditor out of the picture? And therefore, we're in his image. So if we take God out of the mirror, where do we stand if we're in his image and we're his reflection in his mirror, in his own time? If he leaves the mirror, there's no reflection in the mirror except void. That means you don't exist. So every time people take the Most High out of the picture, they pretty much erase their self and their culture. And this is happening right now again. So they exercise a very real power, and their pagan worship snared some of the children of Yis-RoyAl, who was Ashtoreth, which we have heard many things about already. This is another ancient picture of her again. I'm going to go ahead and save this. Alright, so Ashtoreth, Easter, was the fertility goddess of sex, of gay, lesbianism. Easter, goddess consort of Molech, of Baal. Ashtoreth is mentioned 3 times in scripture. In the first book of Kings 11, section 5 and section 32. The second book of Kings 23, section 13. When Ashtoreth is mentioned in scripture, she is linked to Molech, also called Milcom in the Holy Book. Ashtoreth is mentioned 12 times in the Old Testament. The word is used as the name of a town in ancient Yis-RoyAl. In Deuteronomy verse 1 section 4. Joshua verse 9 section 10. Verse 12 section 4. Verse 13 section 12. Verse 13 section 31. In the first book of Chronicles verse 6 section 71. That towns were named after the fertility goddess indicates that her worship was already widespread when the children of Yis-RoyAl entered the land of Palestine. So some of the streets are named after idol pagans. Some of the movies are named after idol pagans. Oh man, it's so deep, man. We're so deep in a satanic culture here on earth that we're so blinded and desensitized to these facts. You know, and there's many more things we don't even notice. Maybe even being on this television in front of this box is some type of idol worship in a way. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just never know when you're idol worshiping until you disconnect from everything. That's why most of the time I'm all by myself. I isolate myself because I don't want to hear the bullshit the people got to say. I don't want to hear the lies. I can't take no more lies. I can't take no more of satanic speech. So in Judges, verse 2, section 13, and verse 10, section 6, and the first book of Samuel, verse 7, section 3, like even some of the name of these are pagan gods too. They changed up the names into English, so make sure you know the real names of the books too in ancient Paleo-Hebrew, where there's no other vowels but one I, and everything else is A. Abba, Saka, Na, Za, Bla, Da, Bomba, Abba, Agabi, that, you know, I. Everything just in one I. So in the first book of Samuel 7, section 3, and section 4, verse 12, section 10, and verse 31, section 10, Ashtaroth refers to the ancient Canaanite fertility goddess with a slightly different spelling than Ashtoreth. Ashtoreth was the goddess of war and fertility, called Ishtar by Assyrians and Babylonians, called Ashtart by Greeks and Romans, and called Tanith by North Africans. Tanith. Molech represented the male principle of life and reproduction. So Ashtoreth, it's a female, but it represents a male aspect. Because you know males are constantly trying to reproduce and sex. Oh, they can't control themselves. Sex. Lust. Oh, I can't control my penis. I can't control my vagina. Sex. All that represents the Easter bunny. Because bunnies reproduce a lot. They make a lot of babies. That's what the eggs are for. Eggs represent life. It represents baby. So it's all about sex, Easter, sex, all this stuff, so they can't control themselves. That's a male principle. Because usually males are like that. Women aren't usually like that. But this is a female. So Molech represents the male principle of life and reproduction, while Ashtoreth represents the female principle of fertility. So she's constantly laying his eggs. He's constantly sex, entering with his phallus into her womb, and she's constantly giving life, making eggs, more eggs, and more eggs. This is the concept of Easter. It's evil. And then after they make the eggs and the babies, they got so much babies, they end up sacrificing them to false gods like voodoo. And I know from being in Haiti that is real. It's very powerful. They can make people's feet turn to stones. They got dancing mango trees. You go walk near it, it go eat you. They got people turn into cats and dogs at night. They got people who turn into a fly and they sting you. I even heard chains and something big walking when I was there before. And I'm Haitian, like I told you. I'm from the tribe of Lawaya. I am true Israel. I am from the tribe of Lawaya, of Levi. I'm a true full-blood Haitian. My whole family Haitian. And they're all worshiping Satan now, which they call Jesus. So Molech, a fire god of ancient Canaan, the sexual relationship between these false gods set the example for unbridled sensuality among their worshippers. So a lot of the lusts and all that's coming from this. This is a form of Jezebel. And I'll make another video about that because I'm learning how to destroy these certain gods and completely annihilate them from the face of existence. You see, because of me knowing their names and their characteristics, I can yank them out of people directly. Like Leviathan, come out of him now in the name of Christ Yeshua. May you burn in the fire. You know what I'm saying? Like Jezebel, the seducer, the manipulator and trickster, the manipulator of lust, come out of this woman or this man now. I smash you into the bottomless pit of Abaddon in the name of Christ Yeshua. Like things like that. You can call them by names and throw them out. And Christ did this when he took Beelzebub out of people. He's like, Beelzebub, come out of him now. Shut up. Silence your mouth. Shut up. Come out, Beelzebub. In the name of Christ, come out. Come out. And they came out. The people, they all come out. So Jesus is Zeus. In the name of Christ Yeshua, I command you, Jesus, Zeus, to get out of here. Go to hell. Go down to the bottomless pit. May you go to hell, Zeus, you false idol god of thunder. In the name of Christ Yeshua, the true salvation. So anal sex between male and male worshippers and male and female worshippers was viewed as an offering to the goddess. Some 14, this is crazy because I didn't know that either. They try to promote that a lot, like male and female anal. They make it seem like a new variety, or you know, even if it's with a female, they make it look like a new variety or something different, or there's nothing wrong with it, but maybe it is. And now I'm seeing, because I do admit and confess that I have had that type of intimacy with females. You see what I'm saying? And I did not know. You may not know. You're probably just learning now. We must confess our sins and ask for forgiveness, especially before Passover. So some 1,450 years after Leviticus, the Apostle Paul references pagan worship in Romans verse 1, section 26 through 27. Take note. When he blasts the same kind of fertility goddess worship in first century Rome. So there's another picture of Molech. And this is what you're worshiping and stuff, the idol. The Molech idol was a large, hollow brass statue with the head of a bull and the bulging belly of a man. It was designed like an old-fashioned pot-bellied stove, with the belly as the fire box. A child sacrifice laid on the hands would roll into the fire in the belly cavity. Scripture describes this practice as passing through the fire to Molech. Leviticus verse 18 section 21. Cleartarchus on Molech. Cleartarchus, an ancient historian around 315 BC, gives this description of a fire god at Carthage. Kronos is the North African name for Molech. Kronos. Like Google Chrome. There stands in their midst a bronze statue of Kronos, its hands extended over a bronze brazier, the flames of which engulf the child. When the flames fall upon the body, the limbs contract, and the open mouth seems almost to be laughing until the contracted body slips quietly into the brazier. Diodorus Siculus on Molech. Diodorus Siculus, 90 to 30 BC, gives this description of a Carthaginian fire god. There was in there, so Zeus is a thunder god. Ashtaroth is the fertility god. Mary is so-called the queen of heaven, which is the queen of hell. Let me see, who else? We already know Zeus is the thunder god. Who else? Satan is the great deceiver. Leviathan is the serpent of pride, of ego, of power. What else do we got? We got a couple of other ones. Abaddon is the demon or the angel of the bottomless pit. Lucifer is the bringer of the dawn, one of the brightest stars that was in the sky that fell down here. Lucifer, which is light, false light, artificial light. Who else again? Who's the goddess of water? Oh yeah, Poseidon. Poseidon, which is like the fish hat of the Pope, the priest or the Pope. They call it Poseidon, which is another form of Leviathan, the serpent. Who else? There's a couple of them. It's like every element they have a god. Oh yeah, what's his name? I think Satan is also known not only as a great deceiver, but the prince of air, and which is wind. And there's some other ones and stuff, but I can't think of them now. There's even one for technology and stuff like that. But they made up all these false gods and stuff, and divided the Most High's elements in his world, in his earth, which is holy and one and whole. They divided it into little gods and stuff like that. Jesus, which is Zeus, is thunder god. And Dogon, the dog star of Sirius, the worship of the constellation, the stars. Reptilians, insectoids or draconians, greys. Man, there's so much of them, man. Andromedans, Sirius A, Sirius B, Pleiadians. There's a bunch of them, you know. So watch out, man. These people are down here, man. So Plutarch on Molech. Plutarch, AD 46 through 127 AD. Senior priest of the oracle of Delphi, gives this description of the fire god Molech or Kronos. The whole area before the statue was filled with a loud noise of flutes and drums, so that the cries of wailing of the children being sacrificed should not reach the ears of the people. Say drumming, boom 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 boom. Somebody help me, they're about to burn me. Boom, 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 boom. No one hears what's going on, and they burn the kids. It's happening right now as I speak, man. This stuff, it gets me mad. So one can readily see why Alahaya and Mashe call this pagan religious practice and the sexual rites associated with it Obama's nation. Obama nation. Moloch worship is essentially identical with worship of Shemush. Shemush, which is the worship of the ancient Moabites, the Moors. Shemush of Moab, Kronos of Carthage, and Melquat of Tyre. And this is it again, with the goat and everything, which represents Satan again, or the devil. The general name used throughout Palestine and in the Bible for this type of fire, not God, was Baal. And that's the name they gave it ultimately. That's how we get to here. According to Jewish Encyclopedia, the Hebrews first learned Baal worship from the agriculture Canaanites. So Yahweh is Yahweh Baal. Yahweh is the devil again. It's another one. Another name they call it, YHWH, which is a tetragrammaton, and it's injected into the Bible. It's not the name of the creator, man. The creator tells us his name in Exodus 3:14. I am that I am. This is my name for eternity, for throughout every generation, for memorial. This is my name. I am that I am. Ahaya, Ashura, Ahaya. So let's go ahead and continue. The religious Canaanites of Palestine worship the fertility goddess named Ashtoreth. In Ashtoreth's worship services, male worshippers had anal sex with priests and priestess of the goddess. So this is the whore that's sitting on top of all these people. This was viewed as an offering to the fertility goddess Ashtaroth. The priests and male prostitutes who were consecrated to her cult were called Quadesh. Melchizedekim, or Sodomites. Sodomites, Sodom and Gomorrah. That's why they got destroyed. And it says this in Deuteronomy verse 23, section 18. First book of Kings 14, section 24. Verse 15, section 12. And verse 22, section 46. So Melchizedekim engaged in shrine prostitution, which is the priest. This is even worse. So now these priests aren't sanctified and consecrated enough to be leading anyone. They're foul, they're nasty, they're diseased, they're sick. Whew! Allowing male worshippers to use them for anal sex, as did the sacred harlots. Second book of Kings, verse 23, section 7. The Interpreter's Dictionary of the Bible tells us that pagan religions of the ancient Near East shared a common feature. There were fertility cults who worshipped a mother goddess, like Mary, the queen of hell. And Jezebel is the queen of lust. She's the priestess of lust, actually. The priestess. She liked being called queen and all that stuff too. Same thing. She loved calling herself goddess too. It's the same thing, man. But they have different characters. So fertility rites were practiced at the numerous shrines which dotted the land, as well as at the major sanctuaries. A characteristic feature of the fertility cult was sacred sexual intercourse by priest and priestess and other specially consecrated persons, sacred prostitutes of both sexes. Child sacrifice was also a feature of the rites. Just a complete abomination. The Interpreter's Dictionary of the Bible, Volume 3, Abingdon, 1990, pages 933 through 934. The International Standard Bible Encyclopedia tells us Ashtoreth was a goddess of Canaan and Phoenicia. Prostitution was practiced in her name, and she was served with immoral rites by bands of men and women. International Standard Bible Encyclopedia, Volumes 1, 1979, pages 319 through 320. And this is her again. Me putting these on the page as well. So Ashura figure, the Canaanite fertility goddess. Now we're near the end. Given this culture, historical and religious context, it becomes clear that Allah did not intend to forbid a loving, committed homosexual relationship between two men or two women. Instead, Allah intended to forbid Israel, his people, from practicing the same-sex religious rites, rituals, with which the ancient Canaanites worshipped their fertility goddess. There is no connection between modern homosexuality and ancient fertility goddess worship. Leviticus 18, section 22 and verse 20, section 13 simply do not address modern gay and lesbian relationships. Yet it really doesn't. It doesn't specifically say a man should not be with a man, a woman should be with a woman. But it says in the Holy Bible that the Creator made man and woman in his image. Man and woman, he made them. For man to be with woman and they create family. So whoever wrote this, I don't know if they were gay. I don't know. Who knows? They're probably trying to distinct between their being gay and the worship of Ashtoreth. But I believe it's all the same. I think the disease derived from that. You know what I'm saying? Oh yeah, bestiality. They create a lot of bestiality. Yeah, this person might be a little bit, gay, but that's not my business. They do what they do. So they have transgender issues and stuff like that. So that's who Molech is. Molech. Alright, this is another one I gotta read to you guys real quick. Hold on one sec. Alright, so Marduk, Mars is another name for it too. Martial law, Martian. Marduk represents Anunnaki. They're another race of aliens that invaded us. So hold on one sec, guys. All right. So the real name is Marduk. Marduk. Marduk is the Greek spelling. Occupation. It's a Mesopotamian god of wisdom, a patron god of ancient Babylon, former chieftain of the Mesopotamian gods. So this one is a so-called god of wisdom, which might be a god of evil wisdom. So its legal status, citizen of ancient Sumeria and Babylon, possible citizen of celestial Dilmun. So Babylon was a horrible place back then. Wow. Identity. The general of Earth is unaware of Marduk's existence except as a mythological character. So what is Marduk's other aliases, other possible names? Marduk Korios, Nestor Zoltan, Satan, the adversary, the devil, Black Halo, Mouse Gorny, Trachos, et al. And so on. So where is his place of birth? Babylon, now part of modern Iraq. Babylon is fallen, is fallen. Martial status, separated, which means not with God. Known relatives, Iya, which means father. Damkina, which is his father. Damkina, which is his mother. I don't know who it is. You can look it up. Anu, which is his uncle. Ashura, Mami, Eriketgal, aunt. Zarpandit, wife. Nebo, son. If you don't know what these mean, look them up. Nizaba, Nanshi, Nina, which is his sisters. Nina, Ninsar, Atu, half sisters. I crush you all. Enkim Du, Enbilulu, Aznan, Azarlubi, which is his half brothers. I cast you into the bottomless pit. Enlil, Hadad, Nurata, Martu, Nusku, Nergal, Gibil, Kinyaras, cousins. Victoria Wingate, alleged second wife, possibly. Damon Hellstrom, alleged son. Santa Hellstrom, alleged daughter. Patsy Walker Hellstrom, alleged daughter-in-law. Anshar, grandfather, possibly deceased. Kishar, grandmother, alias Ki, Kai, Chi, possibly deceased. Gaia, ancestor, alias Ninhursag, Tiamat. By the way, Asterisk also represents Gaia and Terra, which people call Mother Gaia, Mother Terra. This is all the same thing. I cast them onto a bottomless pit and seal it shut. Group affiliations, the gods of Mesopotamia, possibly the everlasting. Base of operations, they're mobile. First appearance, name only, strange tales, possibly Hellstrom. So these are all these people, man, they're working with each other. So history. Marduk is a member of an extra-dimensional race of beings known as the Anunnaki or Enki. They're the ones who descended from heaven, from the skies and aliens, and gave knowledge to the government, and they're still doing it, and placed some of their knowledge in the pyramids and gave us futuristic high technology, all types of stuff, man. They're a reason why we got iPhones and computers and internet now. They made us leap in consciousness. So who were worshipped as gods during the ancient Sumerian and Babylonian empires? Marduk was the son of Ea, who was worshipped as the god of water, and his wife Damkina, the plant goddess. In ancient times, the Mesopotamian gods once lived on earth with their worshippers, and many of the elder gods lived in positions of power, posing as mortal rulers, like today. They can shapeshift, which means they can change the way they look and turn into human. And it takes a lot for them to do that, because a lot of times when they get angry, they start to get disfigured a little bit, and they look a little bit staticky, and their face look like it's shifting and things like that. And man, it's crazy, man. Like Justin Bieber and stuff like that. When he got drunk, his eyelids turned to like devil eyes real quick, and he turned away real quick, like don't look, don't look, don't look. And when he looked again, his eye it flipped back like reptilians. So the elder brother of Ea was the undisputed king of the gods, since he had overthrown Ilalu, one of the children of the ancient primeval sea goddess. Alalu. Tiamat could actually be the Sumerian form of Gaia, whatever, the ancestor of all the gods of earth. But this is unconfirmed. Marduk was a close friend with the sons of Anu, particularly with Enlil and Hadad, joining them in numerous adventures against threats to the gods in earth. Marduk even helped Enlil slay Apsu, one of the ancestors of the Mesopotamian gods, who had outlived his worship. So there's a lot of fights on this earth between the gods. Eventually they got wiped out. The Nephilims and all that stuff is deep. When his worship began to overshadow that of his father, Enlil overthrew Anu as ruler of the gods and took the name Dagon. That's what I was trying to tell you about, the Dagon. Dog star, in order to claim the worship rights of the older forgotten deity. His mortal descendants inherited rule of the Sumerian Empire under his power. His brother Hadad, who supported their father as ruler, opposed Enlil and eventually deposed him with the help of Ea. But when Hadad departed earth for the last time, Ea supported Marduk to take the throne. Marduk either slew or drove Tiamat from Sumeria. Whether or not Gaia was actually Tiamat is questioned. So whether or not Gaia was actually Tiamat is questionable. Gaia later traveled to Greece, ruled by the Titans, Clash of the Titans, the ancestors of the Olympian gods like Zeus, Hercules, Aphrodite, and Hades, and all this junk. After Dagon was forced from rule, the Sumerian Empire collapsed and was replaced by the Babylonian gods, who declared Marduk their patron god. Marduk's mortal descendants dominated the Babylonian throne and hierarchy. The Assyrians, again, the Syrians, Syria, who revered the war god Nergal. So Nergal is the war god, as their patron god. However, sought to overthrow the Babylonian Empire, but they never achieved the power of the previous two empires, and were constantly being invaded by invading tribes from other lands. Worship of the Mesopotamian gods began to wane under the religion of Judaism, which is the Ashkenazi, Khazarian Jews version of Israel. They turned Israel into a religion. It was never a religion. They're still not a religion. We're connected by blood and right, and by heart and spirit. So worship of the Mesopotamian gods began to wane under the religion of Judaism. The early Jewish church had erroneously denounced all the Mesopotamian gods as demons in the face of their own scriptures. Since departing earth, Anu had created the other dimensional realm of celestial Dilmun as a home for the Mesopotamian gods who departed earth. The gods who entered Dilmun became known as the Igigi, whatever, while the gods bound to earth in the underworld remained as the Anunnaki. In rewriting the old Sumerian stories in their texts, the Jews might have assigned angelic traits to the former gods as members of the Elohim, the gods, or archangels, in order to mask their original forms. Wow. And I know Elohim means gods, more than one gods. Alahims, angels of the ark. So Marduk and many of the Anunnaki were respected by the invading Greeks, who brought the rites of their native Olympian gods with them. Olympian, the Olympics. But many of the Anunnaki did not respect the Olympian gods, and tensions remained between them until modern times. Increasing Hebrew and Islamic influences, and even the early Christian church replaced the rites of the Anunnaki and the Olympians on earth. Worship of Marduk even reached as far away as Rome at one time, but he never had quite the prominence he had under the Babylonian Empire. Priests of Marduk once protected the sacred book of the Vishanti, leaving it in the protection of a griffin. A griffin, which is like a demon type of thing. You should look it up. If you don't know what any word means here, make sure you look it up. In the 20th century, the sorcerer Kalu tossed the book back into time to when it was protected by the griffin. But Doctor Strange and his mentor, the Ancient One, traveled back to retrieve it, mystically leaving behind its historical counterpart to exist through history. According to some accounts, several of the Anunnaki reverted into demonic entities while in search of new worshippers. Whether this is what happened to Marduk is unrevealed. Around 980 AD, shortly before the third host of the celestials of the sky and the stars, a being claiming to be Marduk invaded Asgard, home of the Asgardian gods, and attempted to cause Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods, in order that he could drain off the life forces of the Asgardians, in order to increase his own weakening powers. Marduk was attacked by Thor, who was often defended Asgard to threats to it, and left him badly weakened. Marduk departed to regather his strength, and over several years began forming a group of followers known as the Everlasting. Based in a location near Zurich, Switzerland, Marduk allied himself with Quetzalcoatl. All them things they're all demons. One of his mortal descendants returned to life, and Yis-RoyAl, the Polynesian god of the dead. At some point, Marduk or another entity using that name took the form of a mortal man named Marduk Kurios and seduced a woman named Veronica Wingate, later taking her as his wife. This Marduk seems to have been demonic. His children, Damon and Satana Hellstrom, had several demonic traits. Veronica fled from him upon discovering his true nature and took Damon with her to raise on her own. Satana grew up to be a succubus. That's another demon right here. They suck you up like the Medusa. While Damon used his paranormal powers as the son of Satan, and later dethroned this Marduk as ruler of hell, become known as Hellstrom as a result. Whether this Marduk is the same Marduk of the Everlasting is unrevealed. So Marduk of the Everlasting eventually took the name Zoltan Nestor and seized control of Oracle Inc., created by Namor, the Submariner, and later sold to Stark Fujikawa in Japan. The V Battalion, meanwhile, became aware of it from Amal Farouk, and sought out for information about it from Nestor, unaware of his connection to it. He provided them with a bit of misinformation to distract them from his group for a while. But in the meantime, Marduk placed his mark on Roger, Aubrey, mighty destroyer of V Battalion, thereby gaining control of his life, turning up a notch in his plans. Marduk funded and supplied weaponry to the anti-national terrorist group Ultimatum, led by the Flag Smasher, with the intention to use the life energies of souls slain in the battles with Ultimatum to furrow the Genesis well, which would grant him full power over the earth. That can never happen. The Most High Allahaya is greater than this fool. He captured and manipulated the mutant known as the Collective Man to drain the life from his Chinese allies. As a result, nearby the entire nation briefly fell into a comatose state. Like they're in coma, like today, zombies. Citizen V had to slay the Collective Man to reverse that threat and convince Flag Smasher to abandon his current plan in exchange for sovereignty of the nation of Rumekenstin, to help him defeat Marduk. Infuriated by this change in his plans, Marduk stole the life of Roger, Aubrey, and added it to the well within which Marduk could not be killed. Unfortunately, Marduk could not leave the well to fight Citizen V, as Aubrey and the captive spirits in the well rallied against Marduk. Citizen V destroyed the well, whose energies then flooded both Marduk and Aubrey with power. While the energies restored Aubrey to life, Marduk was ripped apart by them, unable to control them. However, it is unknown if this was the true Marduk, or if any essence of this Marduk still exists, or if this is the final destruction of him. So the devils and all them, they end up fighting each other. This is their little life in timeline. So it says his height was like 6 inches, weight like 345 pounds, hair was black, eyes was blue, but I don't know that if that's true. The strength level, Marduk possessed superhuman strength, enabling him to lift, press 30 tons under optimal conditions. Known superhuman powers. Marduk possesses the conventional physical attributes of the Mesopotamian gods. Like all of the Anunnaki, he is extremely long-lived, but he is not immortal like the Olympian gods. He has not aged since reaching adulthood and cannot die by any known conventional means. He is immune to all known terrestrial diseases, is invulnerable to conventional injury. If wounded, his godly life force would enable him to recover with superhuman speed. It would take an injury of such magnitude that it disperses a major portion of his bodily molecules to cause him a physical death. So it would take an injury of such magnitude that it dispersed a major portion of his bodily molecules to cause him a physical death. Even then, it might be possible for Anu, Ea, or a number of gods of equal power working together to revive him. Marduk does have some superhuman strength, and his own Anunnaki metabolism gives him far greater than human endurance in all physical activities. Anunnaki flesh and bone is about 3 times as dense as similar human tissue, contributing to the superhuman strength and weight of the Mesopotamian gods. So as a god, wannabe god, Marduk had the ability to tap into and manipulate mystical energies, primarily to change his form, move between dimensions such as from Earth to celestial Dilmun, and to cast spells and augment physical objects with mystical attributes. He had some form of clairvoyance and could read the history of people and objects around him. His level of expertise was above most of the Mesopotamian gods, with the obvious exception of gods like Anu, Ea, and Enlil. Marduk the demon has all the conventional attributes of a demon, primarily being reliant on having to absorb the life energies, souls, of living things in order to exist, possibly on par with Mephistos and Mikaboshi. His mystical powers enabled him to tap into and manipulate dark energies. enabling him to take and steal life energies, but only with those with which he has come within direct contact. He can also move and travel between dimensions such as the earth and the underworld known as Hades or Hell. He can change his form as when he takes on a demonic state with 3 heads capable of breathing fire, like Baal. He seems quite more powerful in this realm than when he is on earth. So Marduk of the non-everlasting seems to be almost entirely human without any known superhuman powers, except while he stands in the Genesis well. In the well he is powered by the life forces of the people in the well, attaining God-like powers, strength, endurance, stamina, and resistance to injury. However, he is subjective to injury and even death if he removes himself from it. The waters of it can heal him of any injury by siphoning energies from life forces contained with it. Some of his agents design equipment to enable him to manipulate others and drain energies through other means, like HAARP. So transportation, pets. Marduk, the demonic father of Daemon, Hellstrom, sometimes rides a storm chariot driven by Slayer, Pitiless, Racer, and Flyer, 4 poison tooth, tireless demonic steeds. So right here it says, comments. This bio pretty much covers Marduk and his multiple appearances in the Marvel Universe. It is unrevealed if all these appearances are meant to be one entity or a variety of beings. Marduk has not been observed in the DC Universe. In Sumerian myth, Nin-Hersag is the Sumerian Assyrian name of the mother goddess identified with Kishar, Ki, mother of Anu in Ea. Ashura, queen of the gods, like Mary, Ashura, or Jezebel. Mami, goddess of fertility in Damkina, goddess of plants and wife of Ea. In the Marvel Universe, it's the Sumerian name of Gaia. So these are other 2 things they talk about Marduk. So they say clarifications. Marduk is possibly not to be confused with Marduk, one of the sons of Satanic, Doctor Strange, number 75, or Marduk, the black steed of Prince Gaynor, the Damned, Conan the Barbarian. And that's what we have for that right now. If you want to, you can check out that website. This is where they talk about the myths of over there, the gods of the earth and things like that. It goes into detail. The gods of China, the gods of Mesopotamia, the gods of Egypt, the gods of Greece. Man, this stuff gets deep. It's a lot, you know. So I won't be covering all that today, but I will be saving this right here for later. Alright, last section I'm going to read today, and when we come back in part 3, we're going to finish off talking about Christmas now and putting it all together. Because this is how it all fits in, where Christmas and all this stuff is evil. Christ's massacre. So this one's going to be very short. Please stick with me. Do not cut this yet. So Tophet beating drums in the valley of Ben Hinnom. Study Jeremiah verse 7, section 31 through 32. Where is Tophet in the valley of the son of Hinnom? Do you know? Do some research on it real quick. Once called the valley of the son of Hinnom, possibly naming the original owner. The valley of Hinnom is a deep ravine west and south of Jerusalem. And today it is known as Wadi Jehannam or Wadi Rubeb, believed to be located in the southeast region of the valley of Hinnom. Tophet occupied a high place and was the site of worship of the Ammonite god Molech. So this is where they did it in Tophet in the valley of Hinnom. To understand the significance of these verses, it is important to understand the historical contents of this geographical area. What do you learn about the kings of Judah, Yahweh, that were associated with the Tophet in the valley of Hinnom? Initiated by his love of foreign women, like white people, as wives and concubines. King Solomon was in love with white women, established shrines for the worship of pagan gods about high places or hilltops. The first book of Kings, verse 11, section 1 through 7. Two pagan gods were particularly detestable: Shemush, the pagan god of the Moabites, the Moors, and Molech, the pagan god of the Ammonites, because their worship called for the sacrifice of infants. Tophet, meaning place of fire, was a site of worship for Molech. However, its primitive root word toph meant playing or beating a percussion instrument such as a timbrel, tambourine, or drum. Scholars believe that it was possible that percussion instruments were used to drown out the sounds of infants as they were burned alive. Molech in the head of a bull with two horns in the body of a man. The idol's stomach was hollow and was the furnace for the fire used during the sacrifice, the belly of the beast. When hot enough, the infant was placed into the arms of the idol. Wow, that's ridiculous. Molech had the head of a bull with two horns in the body of a man. The idol's stomach was hollow and was the furnace used during the sacrifice. So it is not known when the Israelites started sacrificing their children as well. However, Allah clearly prohibited such forms of worship and indicated that sacrificing innocent children was murder, blood on their hands. An infanticide began with idolatry. Biblical evidence prohibiting the worship of Molech or his practices can be seen here. I'm not going to look at that because we already went through all of them. The Bible states that the King Ahaz of Judah, the 12th king from King Solomon, sacrificed his own sons to Molech in his attempt to seek military aid from the pagan god. The second book of Kings, verse 16, section 1 through 3. So this is why Israel fell. We started messing up the kings of Yahweh, of Judah. So King Manasseh of Judah, the 14th king from King Solomon, was also an evil king. Like King Ahaz, King Manasseh sacrificed his own sons by burning them to death in the worship of Molech. It talks about that in the second book of Kings, verse 21, section 1 through 6, and the second book of Chronicles, verse 33, section 1 through 6. King Josiah of Judah, the 16th king from King Solomon, was a godly king and in his reforms abolished all idol worship, pagan priests, destroyed pagan shrines, and specifically destroyed Tophet. The second book of Kings, verse 23, section 1 through 14. And also the second book of Chronicles, verse 34, section 3 through 7. By spreading human bones about, King Josiah defiled the former high places of idol worship and rendered them ceremonially unclean. It is not known if King Josiah was entirely successful at, as Jeremiah makes repeated calls against Tophet in Jeremiah verse 19 section 1 through 6 and verse 32 section 35. However, in time, the valley of Hinnom became a garbage dump for the city of Jerusalem, receiving waste, refuse, and unclean objects such as the bodies of dead animals and executed criminals. Fires within the dump were promoted to reduce the garbage that collected. And we do that today. We use fire to get rid of all our dump and crap. What implications of this Old Testament reference have on the New Testament? By Yeshaya's time, the valley of Hinnom was a full-fledged garbage dump with its wretched, rotting aromas, howls of scavenging wild animals, and smoldering in perpetual fires. In Hebrew, the valley of Hinnom was Gehinnom, which transliterated into Greek became Gehenna. Because of its history of infant sacrifice and idol worship, the area was associated with desecration, abominable fires, death, and waste. Like the hood. And excluding James verse 3 section 6, Yeshaya Hamashiach alone is the only one using Gehenna in the New Testament as a figure of speech to convey the symbolic fate of unrepentant sinners. Gehenna's image of abomination, death, stench, fire, and waste was well understood by the citizens of Jerusalem. In this manner, the judgment of an invisible Alahaya can be understood in a tangible and frightening manner. Greek translators have understood Gehenna to refer to hell, Sheol, or Hades, and the biblical instances can be seen. So right here, the concept of hell is born out of the translation of 4 words. Old Testament, in Hebrew they call it Sheol. Sheol means death or hell. And in the New Testament, in Greek, they call it Hades, Gehenna, and Tartarus. And this is why we're going to get punished, especially if you're going to worship Christmas and Easter and all the other Hollywood days. It's all based on Wiccan days. So I hope this is making sense. In part 3, we're going to go into it a little bit more, and we're going to finish it off. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day. May the Most High Allahaya bless your soul and fill you up with joy, peace, love, and light, and bring prosperity to you, mainly spiritual riches. And may your soul continue to fill up with the divine light and fountain of life of the Most High Allahaya, Bahasham Yeshaya Hamashiach. Amen. I affirm. Have a great day, everyone. See you in part 3.